Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Love Shouldn't Hurt. My favorite day of the week. You all know that I say this constantly. This is what I do. Tuesdays are my favorite. But I am not in Philadelphia this week because we want to take the message of love shouldn't hurt all around the world. So today we are shooting from a different location. I'm telling you, when I told you guys I was going to be worldwide, I was not playing with you people. I'm exuding confidence. I'm exuding what we are doing and promoting at Love Shouldn't Hurt. So you see it no longer says founder, but it says president. You can call me La Presidente. So we are shooting somewhere else. I won't tell you where until our guest comes on, but we are not in Philadelphia. And I'm super excited to do what we do and to bring it from other places and to just share what our mission is everywhere we go. So tonight, I want to remind you folks before anything what we always do, because we are here for a message, we serve a purpose, and this is why we do this on a weekly basis. So a reminder for all of you folks, if you are dealing with some form of domestic violence, if someone you know, someone you love, a friend, a family member, anyone who comes in contact with you needs help with domestic violence, you know that you can reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can reach us on the web at loveshouldnothurt.com and any of our social media platforms. So tonight, folks, I have the amazing, exciting, extremely. I always use like verbs and adjectives, right? To introduce my people because I want you people to know how exciting it is for me to have such amazing and phenomenal folks on. So I have the pleasure of having two great guests. One, you constantly see. She is a Fierra Dominicana. My girl has some credentials and she is always here giving us her love, her light, and her perspective in such an amazing way. We also have a first-time guest that I'm truly excited to bring on. He is a great friend that I've known for over 20 years. He'll tell you how he knows me. But he is joining us today, and I'm super excited. The last time we were on this screen, we were speaking about healthy relationships with our children. If you did not watch, as per always, check us out on YouTube. You can check out that episode. It was amazing. Good evening to all of my guests. I am seeing you from a different view, so I'm unable to see everyone who is posting, but whoever is here, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our first guest who we're bringing on is an oldie, but a favorite and a goodie and a huge part of Love Shouldn't Hurt. She's come to us with some expertise, gives us amazing feedback constantly, and she is here tonight to help us with our topic. Our topic tonight is messaging, societal messaging. People, we have different messages that are feeded into us on a different daily basis, correct? We have people telling us that we're too big, we're too skinny, or that we shouldn't dress a certain way because it may display different messages. So tonight we're talking about societal messages and how they are important for us. So let's bring on our first guest, Amanda Peguero. Mujercita, you're muted. You gotta unmute para que te oigan.
I was so excited. I was like, saludos.
No, mi amor. I'm not in Philly. I know you in Philly. I'm somewhere else.
I mean, you go to Philly and you go to Chi-Town and represent for Philly.
Chi-Town. We are live from Chi-Town today, folks. So Amanda spilled the beans. We are excited that we are spreading our message worldwide. Amanda, we have people who are watching who know you, who love you, and love to see you on. But let's remind folks your credentials, what you do. Esa Dominica Fierra tiene credentials, folks. So what is it you do for a living? Tell us about
So
yourself.
aside from being like a proud mother, sister, friend, cousin, family, all that good stuff, I am a licensed professional counselor both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I have specialties from trauma as grandiose as sexual abuse, DV, which we talk on the show all the time, to like homicide survivors. Well, not survivors of homicide, but like family members or survivors of homicide and DUIs and things like that. Trauma is my specialty. Trauma is where I find my love. I have worked with families and friends and children who were victims of sex trafficking. So I did a lot of that for like 14 plus years. I've been in the human service field for like 17 plus years. I love what I do. I decided to get into this field because I wanted people that sounded and looked like me to have people with experience and actual passion for this to give them quality mental health services. So I find myself to be a proud Latin mental health provider in whatever spectrum it is, whether it's in my adjunct professor positions or whether it's in my day-to-day. I work in a middle school now with my young kids and planting the seed. That's what I love to do.
Amazing. So they often say that you are the product of the 5 people that you hang with. I will say that I am becoming a better person because Amanda is a part of my circle. So
I
that's
feel
not who she is, people. She gives you the good, the bad, the ugly, but she does it in the best way possible and for you. So thank you for being with us tonight. Tonight's message was something, topic was something that we sat and we spoke about when we were, meeting about our strategic plan, because we're continuing to build Love Shouldn't Hurt and making sure that our company and our organization is something that is suitable and supportable for those who are dealing with domestic violence. So tonight's message is actually very, very important to us. We think that it's a super important topic for not only ourselves, but our children and just people in general who are watching. So thank you, Amanda, for being with us again. Our second guest tonight, I'm super excited because I have known this gentleman, like I said, for over 20 years. We met each other 20 something years ago, just because of work and things that we were a part of. And it actually became a friendship, and it grew. And he's been a phenomenal person to keep in touch with through the years. And he does some great things with children. But I'm going to let him explain who he is for himself. So let's bring on our guest. Hello, sir.
Hello, Christina and Amanda. Hello, how you guys doing?
Great,
It's a pleasure to be on your show finally.
Thank you. You're talking to us from where?
Chicago. I'm out here in Chicago.
See that? Exciting.
Chi-town.
So we're moving that message all around the world. So this is another powerful Boricua doing things. He's doing things in Chicago. Tell us what it is that you do for a living, Roberto.
Currently, I work for an organization called Youth Guidance. It's a nonprofit organization, and I am manager for a program called BAM, Becoming a Man. So we work with young men from 6th grade all the way to seniors, and teach them kind of different concepts, trying to keep them out of trouble, but also just going a little bit deeper in just that, like finding out who they are and having them open up and having discussions about, themselves, their families, and things usually men don't really do. So we try to, come together with circles and just tell them it's okay to talk, to express themselves and to show who they are and not hide behind the mask that, some of them do quite often. So that's what I currently do right now in the city of Chicago.
Right. So, folks, if you're wondering how, right? So I met this man 20 something years ago because I was an intern for a good friend of ours, mutual friend, Rafael Collazo, and he was an intern. So we met each other that summer as I was an intern for USHLI. And he actually, that's the United States Hispanic Leadership Institute. And he was as well. So I was a pain in his butt back then because I was young and I didn't know what I was doing. But listen, he dealt with me and we're still friends and we're along. So I'm glad that you're here tonight. You're sharing in this. And it's great to have a friend that I'm always around, but a friend from a distance who I haven't seen for years who actually can be here and has become super supportive of what it is that we do. So tonight's messaging and its impact. Amanda, why was that such a powerful thing for you? This, why did you want to talk about it? Because I know that it came from a video that we were watching, and it kind of was like, wow, that's something we should talk about. Why was it important for you and for us to discuss this?
I think that one of the things that we want to send to the audience is that Love Shouldn't Hurt isn't just about like what affects us in the day-to-day, but we're staying attuned to what's happening in the media, in the news. We all know what happened this morning with Governor Cuomo, and we try to stay on top of things. So as we were having a Love Shouldn't Hurt meeting, our producer said, have you guys seen this video? We watched the video. It turned into such a deep conversation. And we were like, why are we talking about this on the show? And that's how it started, because the reality is that we have all gotten messages, good, bad, indifferent, from all parts of our worlds. We get them daily. Some we internalize and some we don't even realize that we internalize until our subconscious or some other way it comes out. And then we're like, wait a minute, where did that come from? So I think that the reality is that messaging is around. So why not use this platform to send some messaging that is positive, that it's encouraging, that it's like letting people know out there, men, women, everyone, children, adults, families, like this is a topic that's not talked about enough, particularly in minority communities. This is not a topic, what I always say this, you guys are going to get tired of me, pero lo que pasa en casa se queda en casa. And the reality is that no se queda en casa. The neighbors know, right? Your families know, the church community knows, the school people know. So it's not a secret. So if we stop talking about it like it's a secret and we actually send messaging of like encouragement, empowerment, like it's okay to speak up. It's okay to be, vocal about you needing help. that maybe we're gonna hit somebody like we do every show. Like we were gonna reach somebody. We're gonna reach somebody that's gonna reach out to Love Shouldn't Hurt later and say, you know what? I was watching your show and I really impacted me and I would like to know more about it, or where can I go get help? And I think that's the point of Love Shouldn't Hurt, right? To make sure we reach out to people. Christina says this to me all the time. I want them to know, I want people who are in a relationship that is abusive to know that they are not alone. So I think why not use this time to use a messaging to let everyone know they're not alone, but also let's talk about those messaging and how they impact us.
Absolutely. Messaging is, and when it comes to discussing what we hear from people, I think it takes a lot for a person to say, okay, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to live in this life anymore because of the messaging that they're receiving. When women are dealing with domestic violence, they're receiving messages from people that say that, hey, maybe something that you wore made him angry. Maybe a word that he said to you, you know, you took it the wrong way and you responded to him the wrong way. And sometimes the messaging that we get from our family, from people that we know, can truly hinder us, because people stay in relationships lots of times because of messaging, because of the signals that are given to them, because they feel like, oh, this was said to me and oh my God, they must be right. But who says that the messaging that we're receiving, whether good or bad, whether it's from a friend, family member, or a foe, is something that's positive or is something that should guide us? Vito, give us a little bit of input of what you're thinking. I know that yesterday when we spoke, I was telling you, you know, think about things. This came from Amanda, that, you know, messages that you may have received as a child from maybe your parents that you either do not want to share with your kids now or did want to take with your kids.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the topic that we're talking about tonight?
So when you brought up the topic of messaging, I was thinking about some of the work that I do with my young men. And when we get in a classroom with them in our group setting, the first thing we ask them is, what is a man? Or what does it mean to you? And all their answers come from things that they see. You know, what do I see on TV? What do I see on Instagram? You know, what do I see at home? And every kid kind of gives a different answer. And again, it's through what they view, what's around them. So, you know, when I see that, I know that images are powerful, you know, and so if there's negative images around our young men, that's what they're going to see and that's what they're going to do. And what we want to do is we want to promote positive images, you know, positive role models for them, things that they could, you know, do their values after. So when we talk about this topic, as far as messaging, absolutely, you know, it's very important for young kids and for us. I mean, what we see, people put out messages all the time on Facebook about the relationships and everything's great and fine and dandy. And I'm, you know, I squint sometimes and I'm like, I know them. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, let me give my brother a call. Hey, how's it going? Everything's going better. Good. He's like, no, not really, but we just have to, you know, play the part like that. So again, it's just, you know, how people want to perceive themselves and what type of message they want to push. And again, sometimes people are ashamed of certain things and may not want to talk about it. But again, like I do with our young men, it's best we just bring it out in the open. Let's talk about it. And let's, you know, try to write some messages that might be negative if they have negative messages in their life at that point. Because again, you kind of mirror what you see at home, you know, and it's, again, you mirror what you kind of see on TV and on Instagram and what you think is the cool thing going on right now.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty impactful for me. So today I decided, besides having my own messaging and things that I kind of perceive as what I think is good or bad, I sent out a message to about 10 different people. And I said, do me a favor. I want you to send me one line, one message, either good or bad, of what you've received as a child or an adult and how it's affected you. So the responses that I received from the adults were, of course, phenomenal. But what was the funniest is that when I wrote to the adults, they each gave me one or two things. And they're like, oh, I think this is good. But I wrote to my daughter and her squad, because they're all together right now. And they sent me about 15, 16 messages. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy the impact that the adults see and the children see. And the things that my daughter was sending me, she was a spokesperson for the circle. The things that she was sending me, it was like, wow, that's crazy. These are the messages that they're receiving. We couldn't play the video tonight, unfortunately, that we saw that got us into this discussion. But one of the things that she said during that video, different messaging that she was receiving. She said a whole bunch of different lines of what it's expected of people, and the messaging that we get from videos and TV and things like that, and how they say, if you leave your laptop in the car overnight, then it's your fault that they stole it. If you dress a certain way, then it's your fault that they raped you, and things of that nature. But what she said at the end was that she apologized to her daughter. She apologized to her daughter because she said she lives in a society now that her daughter can't be who she is because of the messaging that she receives. So her daughter can't say, just like my daughter constantly says, I'll use an example. When we're going to do our walks and our runs, my daughter says, Mom, I have to put on loose shorts and a loose tank top or a loose t-shirt, because I know that if I wear something tight, men are going to honk their horns. Men are going to catcall me when I'm walking. And that's just the way that I dress. And she said that in the video. I apologize to my daughter. I'm sorry for her because she can't be as great as she wants to be because of what society has told her. So society's told her that she can't. A lot of places, like when you go into the workforce, women aren't getting paid as much as men are getting paid. So she believes she can't be at her best or be at her greatest because society is saying, because you are not a man and you're taking on this role, I can't pay you as much as I would a man. So different societal messages. So when we think about domestic violence per se, what is a societal message that either of you have received? Amanda, you can go first.
As you were just talking, is that men can't be in a domestic violence situation. It's always the woman is a victim and the man is a perpetrator. And the reality is that we all know that there are male victims in this, type of abuse, but they don't speak up. Why? Because the messaging is you be strong, you don't cry, right? Just like little boys don't play with dolls. No, or you get called a name because you're too sensitive. Stop crying, you a man, So those messages sent to young boys say you can never be in a situation where you're vulnerable. That's what I hear. When I meet with my young men, that's what I hear. Like, I'm not allowed to be vulnerable. I always have to be on the defense. I always have to be the protector of myself and others around me. And then that's a lot of responsibility to carry as a young man when you're figuring yourself out. So yeah, I think in domestic violence, it falls under that. Like, oh, as a man, I can never say that I'm in an abusive relationship where I'm the one receiving the abuse.
Absolutely. Pito, what's your input?
Yeah, I completely agree with Amanda. Working with young men, they carry a lot of this machismo around, toxic masculinity around. They have to be the biggest, the baddest. They can never be weak. And so if something is happening, it's hard to get it out of them. It takes a while. But as far as, my views on the domestic violence, I actually grew up where my mother worked in a shelter for the majority of her career. So I was around it since I was a little kid. On the other side of it, where seeing my mom was helping people with things like that, and she explained what was going on and why these people were in the shelter and so on and so forth. But again, it was a woman's shelter, so I never seen it on the other side as far as men getting abused or anything like that. I always seen it where it was just the men abusing women. And so, that was always my view. And I honestly, I was very naive to the concept of men being abused either by women or their partners if they're in a LGBTQ relationship. I actually had a couple fraternity brothers of mine bring it to my attention a few weeks ago. And somebody, and one of them, he explained, he was like, yeah, I was in an abusive relationship. And it just never dawned on me that, an abusive relationship could actually happen with men also. And again, that was part of my messaging growing up. Going back to the topic of what I seen and what I was exposed to through my mother's career and what I seen on TV. You never see men being abused or anything like that. And again, but the majority perpetrators are men against women. So I don't want to lose that concept. But again, to the point that you were making, my messaging is like, it doesn't happen to men, and to Amanda's point, I kind of fall into some of my kids, when they're talking, I'm like, I agree with them. Yeah, get up, boy, wipe a little dirt on that. You're going to be okay. And that's not necessarily the right messaging that I should be giving them, but sometimes it's really hard to break out of that, and you really have to work at it, especially if you grew up in like a very machismo family dynamic, especially with Latinos. You're supposed to be the head of the household. You're supposed to be this. To me, I mean, I was okay with that because my mom was the head of the household. She pretty much ran everything. So it was, women always been powerful in my life. So it wasn't no big thing for me. But I've been around, my friends and my brothers who it's a real problem with, this is the way it's supposed to be. And that's the way it's going to be. And it's like, all right, if that's what you choose to do, then that's fine. And again, it's trying to talk with individuals and trying to get them out of that mindset. I just think when you tell somebody they're wrong, they're automatically going to get defensive. I think just having a conversation and trying to open them up and asking them questions, which what we do with our young men, that kind of gets a more dialogue going and kind of gets them to kind of ask those questions, and think about it.
Right. And it's funny because exactly what you said, right? You said, so the men run the household and the women. One of the messages that was sent to me from my daughter was women are always expected to have children. Women or couples are always asked when they're having kids, but not everyone wants kids or can have kids, and you never know how people feel. Another message that she sent was men are scared to be themselves because if they say that they're in an abusive relationship, it's seen as unmasculine. So pretty much everything that we're saying are the same things that these kids are saying. So it's crazy because these are the messages that people get on a daily basis, and no one realizes the effect that they have on folks. And not just as adults, we see kids are sending me these messages. These are the messages that they're getting on a daily basis. Another one, I literally asked so many folks. So I'm trying to go through all of the messages one by one because there were so many. And I told everyone that I would shout them out and give them all some love. Messages of exactly what we said before, too, in Spanish. Dime con quien tú andas y te diré quién es. Tell me who you're with and I'll tell you who you are. People being expected to be a certain type of way because of the atmosphere that they're in or the way that they were raised. And then like people have met me and they're like, oh, wow, because of the way that you were raised and the household that you were raised in, I really thought that you were going to be like pregnant at like 16 and you weren't really going to do college. And I'm like, why do you think that? And it's because for society, because I grew up in the hood, I grew up like cruelly in the hood in the middle of drugs and just a bunch of nonsense. And because I had a single mother who was busting her butt, it was, she's going to get pregnant because that's what happened. Because this is what society tells us. If you come from a low income home and she's going to be in the street. She's not going to get a degree. And then my mother's one of 12 brothers and sisters. And out of all of those children, myself and my two older sisters were the first 3 to ever get a college degree. And it was like, oh, glorious, kids got colleges, degrees. Like, wow, that was crazy. So it's just crazy to me how much messaging affects us. And it's even crazier that people do not realize that it affects us so much. We just all live thinking that's how it's supposed to be because these are the messages that are fed to us on a daily basis. Give me some other societal messaging. It doesn't have to be about domestic violence, Amanda. Something that you think has impacted you or maybe even your daughter, maybe conversations you've had with her, because I know that you and her have great conversations and you have some good impact on it. Information that you always give to her.
So I'm going to use myself as always. Like, we don't realize sometimes like simple things. You guys know I like the simple analogies and the things like that. But like things that maybe my mom said to me as a young lady, like, you don't do this as a señorita. No, señorita no hace esto, no hace aquello. Like, and I'll say it to my daughter and she'll catch me doing it. She's like, so you're telling me I can't do that, but you're doing the same thing. And it can be simple. Like I'll use an example. Like my mom would always tell me, don't do this with your nails. Like don't like click them. Right. It's very simple. Right. And sometimes I'm driving and I'm tapping, like I'm driving and tapping. And she's like, I thought you said you're not supposed to tap your nail because that's going to damage your nail bed. And she goes into this whole spiel. And I would have never held my mom accountable for sending me a message and not upholding it. That's the point of me telling you this, right? So I've given my children a space where they can have a voice. So somewhere in my messaging to them, because I want to make sure we know that there's positive messages out there. I think, Roberto just said it himself. Like he grew up with a strong, empowering woman, confident. She sounds, your mom sounds bomb, by the way. I didn't use my favorite word, which I maybe should use. Your mom sounds dope. Yes. So I grew up with that woman, but I grew up with that woman instilling in me that like, I didn't need nobody, right? So what turned out to be is that as a person, as a human being, when I am vulnerable, I don't look for nobody because I can't depend on nobody, because I was never taught to depend on anyone outside of my immediate circle, if that makes any sense, right? So as I've identified that in myself, I try to tell my children, I identify people for them. We talked about it the other day, Christina, with your daughter. We were having a conversation. I'm not going to put her on blast, but like we're having a conversation. I was like, you can't talk to your mom, girl. You better call me. Call me. We can talk about it because I'm not your mom. I'm going to give you the real. I said, and your mom only needs to know anything that's putting you in danger. The rest of it is confidential between me and you. So I do the same for my students. I do the same for my clientele. Let's identify people in your life who you don't have to be someone else when you need support. So the messaging is, there are people in your life that will listen. There are people in your life that are not going to judge you. There are people in your life that when you call and you say, I don't need nothing but you to just listen, we'll do that for you. And I think, Christina, you and I have talked about that. But the reality is that that wasn't offered. We weren't raised like that. I wasn't raised like that. I was raised like, it's just me and you, boo. Just me and you. Me, mom, I had a single mom too, like me and you. So I've tried to learn because I've moved miles away. I grew up, I told you guys before, I grew up in the Caribbean. So I came here for college, solita, and I had to like culture shock. And I had to learn how to manage certain things. So those are like some things that I like, as we talked about the topic. And then other things, just to sum this conversation up a little bit and give somebody else a chance to talk, is that policy and the agencies that are out there for any kind of trauma, I'm going to speak about trauma, are hugely focused on the female and mother and children basis. So I don't mean to like make this about male, but I think since we have a male perspective, it would be nice to like, you know, as a person who talks to kids, male and boys and things, like we don't have a lot of agencies out there for a male in any capacity, right? That has children, for single fathers who have children. Like policies are focused more also on the victim changing. There isn't a lot of policy when it comes to domestic violence in regards to the perpetrator getting help, anger management. That's the most you get, right? Mm. Versus in sexual abuse, if you're a sex offender, you have to go through treatment programs, group counseling. There's a lot of like sex offender work, but what about the other types of trauma where perpetrators aren't expected to do anything? And if they're sometimes not even prosecuted. So I went a little bit everywhere there. I apologize.
That's okay. That's what this show is about. We don't do anything scripted. I'll tell folks that prior to this show, Pito was like, I need to be prepared. I need to be prepared. I'm like, you don't need to be prepared because we are unscripted and we speak bluntly from the heart because we think that it's better that way and people receive the message better that way. So Pito, you deal with young men every day. I'm sure that you receive messaging. I'm sure you hear comments from boys that at times you're like, no, dude, that's wrong. Give us some examples or interactions with the young men that you deal with on a daily basis.
I mean, when we talked about, just men can't be weak at any time, especially coming from Chicago, the areas that I work in. You just can't show weakness. And that's something the messaging they get from their peers at the school. That's messaging that they get from TV or the videos that they watch, the music that they listen to. So I will say that's probably one of the most powerful ones. And then it's you start with that message and it's hard to get them to open up at first. You know, because if I got to be hard and I got to be stone faced and I can't really talk about what's going on either here at school or at home or just trying to open up or just show who I really am. And again, you got a lot of our young men walking around with masks on because this is what they feel they have to do because of, again, messaging out there in society. And so what we try to do is have them take off that mask, have them, throw that messaging to the side and just, try to open up and speak about some of the issues that they're dealing with. And it's a wide range of things. It could just be from anywhere from class or I got cut from my team, or it could just be, something serious. There's a lot of gangs and violence in the city of Chicago. But again, I mean, there's a lot of great things out there also. So always trying to push it to the positive. Yes, there's negative things out there, but let's find a positive spin to it. Let's try to come with a solution. So that's some of the things We do. Again, we have, core values that we try to teach our men: is integrity, accountability. We do self-determination. We do positive anger expression, because we know all our kids, everybody has anger issues, and it's just like, it's okay to be angry, but let's just put it in a way. Let's we call it being a warrior. So either you want to be a warrior, you want to be a savage, and not savage in the kids' terminology where they think it's cool to be a savage, but savage in a negative terminology. Then another one of our core values is respect for womanhood, and then the visionary goal setting. So these are the things we try to work with our young men, trying to change the messaging of what they have previously heard or learned, and try to change their concept of what things are into a positive thing. And again, not everybody's coming to us with negative messaging,
Right.
but we want to work with all of our kids to get them. And when Amanda was speaking as far as programs out there for young men, yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of programs for women out there. So I'm in a very unique position where I get to work with young men and get paid for it. I really enjoy it, and try to make a difference out there with these young men, and you try to get them through. But again, what you look at it, if the men actually make it through high school and they get to college, it's mostly women in college, and not young men. And so that's another message we try to push to them, and try to show them. Another message I try to push with the young men is again, I'm in a fraternity. I'm the chair of Sigma Lambda Beta International Fraternity Incorporated. I try to bring my brothers around to these young men, and show them these are Latino men, Black men, men of color that have succeeded. And all these guys have gone to college, and most of them have graduated, and they're doing something successful in a whole bunch of different areas. So again, it's trying to change that message to what they are seeing in the streets, and again, what they see on TV, who Latino or men of color are supposed to be, which are gangbangers in prison and things like that. So no, that's not us. You know what I'm saying? Or is that some of us? Sure, but that every nationality or every culture has that. But we also have doctors and lawyers and principals and everybody else under the sun. Saying, and you can see that, and trying to again change that messaging for these young men, and hopefully that will get them to the next level, especially when it comes to the topic which you guys always talk about, with domestic violence, relationships, how to make positive relationships with which not only your peers but your partners. So all this intertwines with what we try to do with our young men, and it takes time. I'm sure Amanda knows this, working with her clients. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to build rapport. You have to build trust, and that's the biggest thing. Our kids come in there and they might have been let down by a parent, a family member, a father, and who are you supposed to be? So we have to build that trust with them in order for them to listen to the message, to even do that. And I would say that's another big thing. With messaging out there, who's listening to what, and why do you trust that message? Because there's a lot of messaging that's going on out there that's really negative. But if I trust the source, if I trust this is my favorite rapper, and my favorite rapper is saying, yeah, I'm saying, treat women really bad, and we're doing all this, and we're gang banging and doing drugs. That's the message, but they trust that source, and we just don't understand the impact of that. It was always, I remember Charles Barkley once said, I don't want to be nobody's hero or anything like that. Just surmising what he kind of said. But unfortunately, you have that position and people look up to you, and you have to just be better, and if you have that platform, you just have to be better. And so a lot of our young men, they look at their heroes per se, or their role models, and a lot of these individuals are portraying negative messages. Especially when it comes to women, it comes to relationships, it comes to the streets and education and things like that. So it's an uphill battle, I believe. But I believe we are all here to do the good work out there and change this messaging.
Absolutely.
And make sure our kids understand that, that's just entertainment. He's just doing that as entertainment, and Absolutely. Even I do that with my boys. You got to tell them that's just entertainment. This is the real life. This is what you see. That's for fake. So
absolutely. I think that's a huge thing, because some of the things that affect us most come from music. I mean, we sit in the car every day and we sing these lyrics to these songs. And, you know, sometimes I catch myself singing Cardi B with my daughter in the car or other craziness. And then after you think about the words, you're like, damn, I hope she knows that that's just a song and that's not really how life should be. Like, you should be a decent woman and not swinging on a pole and not like using men for money. So messaging is everywhere. I think it's a bigger part of our world than any of us even realize. I got to give my godson a shout out because I see that he said hi, Nina, underneath. So I got to give him some love. I know he's watching. Hi, Poppy. I see you. We're past the 30-minute mark, so constant reminder, as per always at this point, if you're dealing with any form of domestic violence, anyone that you love, you know, you hear of is dealing with any form of domestic violence, you can reach us at the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-79-7233. You can reach us at all of our social media platforms as well as our website at loveshouldnothurt.com. So one of the things that I wanted to put out there, because Jessica is watching and she was one of the people who sent me something in. One of the messages that she sent me was, I never let my kids know any details of my financial situations. My mom complained about money and details and it messed us up. And I think that that's something that we all are guilty of at times if we're struggling with finances or all of the above. Jessica worked hard to make sure that she paid her own way through college. She paid her brother's way through college because the messaging that she received was, okay, I need to be able to take care of this myself. My problems, or I mean, my mother's financial problems or my mother's financial woes or anyone that I'm dealing with financial woes, you know, they're now my responsibility. And I think that's something that I struggle with at times too, because I think that, you know, we don't realize the messages that we send. And I keep repeating this, but messaging is a part of every single day. And me and my daughter are so close because I'm a single mom and it's just me and her. And we have these conversations. And at times when I am struggling with finances or difficult things, I don't realize the effect that it has on her, because in her mind, it's like, all right, so my mom can't afford this. I shouldn't be able to get this, or we can't afford to do this, so I have to take care of this. I constantly hear her saying, I can't wait till I get a job so I can take the burden from you. And we don't realize, oh my goodness, the messaging that I'm giving her, bendito, it's not even that I'm struggling. It's more of, whoo, today was a hard day, but I'm working hard and things like that. And I have to catch myself. Other messages for myself, for examples for myself, growing up in the situation that I was, the message that I received was, you know, a lot of people think single mothers, it's a terrible thing to be a single mom. That's the message we received. Like, you want to get married, you want to have a husband and take care of yourself. You don't want to be a single parent. And they think because you're a single mom, you can't do well, or you can't be a positive role model because you're a single parent and you didn't do things the way that you should, right? Because society says you have to be a wife before you're a mother. And you have to have this family of a picket fence and things like that. And people don't think that you can succeed. But as a single mother, I feel like I've superseded all of those messages that they've said. You know, as a single mother for the past 40 years, I'm 40 years old, and I've been told the messages that were given to me when I said that I was pregnant was, you know that you're not going to be able to do this on your own, right? You know that you're going to struggle really bad, and like, it's going to be hard for you to be able to raise her on your own. And it's like, that's the messaging that I was given. And now, you know, I think I said this to Amanda or somebody recently. I was like, I'm rocking the shit out of being a single mom. Like, I'm doing the damn thing with my daughter. Seriously. That's our producer being smart in the background, folks. 40, yes, 40. Such a jerk. One of the things that our producer Ray Velez says, messaging impact, showing emotions, crying is for the weak. This makes you hold it in and might turn into anger. Absolutely. I have students who, I work in an urban high school in Philadelphia, and I'm a school counselor. So kids come in and out of my office, and I deal sometimes with really, really strong young men, individuals, women who are just like tough and like, I can't show emotion. And that's exactly what happens when I sit with them. If we're sitting for a while and we're getting into it, and this kid has just fought in the hallway and they're like, Vega, deal with him. We need crisis management. And I talk to him. When you sit and you talk with them for a while, you realize that. You know, I've had gentlemen sit with me and I'm like, listen, dude, like, you're fighting over stupidity. Like, he's playing with you, he threw a pencil at you. You're really in the hallway ready to like throw down and like get expelled from school. Why? And then we'll sit and it's like, it went from that little pencil being thrown at him to them saying like, yeah, you know, I live with my dad and my dad said, you know, that I'm a punk if I cry. And, you know, that's just how I am. So exactly what Ray is saying, like sometimes that messaging of don't cry because you're a boy turns into anger. I see you shaking your head, Amanda. What do you want to say?
Because as you're talking, I think about my assistant principal at my school that I work at. No matter the circumstance, she speaks to our kids. She calls them young scholars. It doesn't matter what situation they're in. If it's like we just broke up a fight or whatever, she'll say, "My young king, talk to me. What's going on, king? Like, what's going on? This is not how kings, my queen. What's going on?" She don't call them princesses or prince. She says, "We are creating kings and queens to take over. I want to see people like us sitting in these positions when my kids are now in school and when my grandkids are in school." And I think it's the same thing. Like, yes, we all might have come from single parents, but they did something right because we turned out right. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I have faith in what we're doing in our communities. And I think like we are all talking about it. Like we have to be out in the community. If you're posting, so I'm gonna back up a little bit. A lot of people used to make fun of me because I'm not on Facebook. But you know why I'm not on Facebook? Because of that same story we just heard in the beginning. Because everybody try to pretend like their life is perfect. And I know the truth because I'm the one you calling. Girl, let me tell you, don't bother me. I told Christina this the other day. I don't have patience for people taking my time to talk to me about something that you're not ready to deal with. Talk to me when you're ready to deal with it because I'm going to give you all my love and attention and affection. That's what I do as a person, not as an employee. Now, as an employee, I work mostly with children. Why? Because I think that they're still teachable and they're still moldable, right? In the sense of I can be a role model for them. Mm-hmm. I can connect them with other people that are role models. Like at my school, they started a young men's program like how you work at, and they would just get together to bust it up. It was no like agenda. It was just a space for them to see other males in our community that came from inner cities, that came from urban schools, who came from one parent household, whose dad was in jail or cousin and somebody got shot, like all these traumatic life experiences that our children have to live in, right? But that they came out strong, right? And I always say it only takes one supportive individual in your life, just one. Consistent, predictable, supportive individual in your life, even as an adult. So I'm going to tell the audience right now, think about right now, right? We've done this before, guys. If you got a flat tire in the middle of the night on whatever turnpike, Chi-Town or Philly, who are the 5 people you can call, no questions asked? Right? And you're calling them and you're saying, "Yo, I got a flat tire. My spare is busted. I can't even find the jack." And they're going to say, "Where you at? Stay on the phone with me. I'm calling AAA. I don't have a way to come to you right now, but I'm going to stay on the phone." Like simple, supportive people. Those are the people that you need to keep in your circle. Because those are the people that are going to speak the truth to you, but are also going to be there to hold you, to make sure that you're okay. So I think that that's part of the messaging, right? If every time you call me, Christina, I don't answer the phone, you won't stop calling me eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that simple. Or it's like crying wolf. If every time you call me, you're crying wolf, there's going to come a time that I'm just going to be like, "I don't really know what you need from me. So you tell me what you need from me because the last couple times it didn't work."
Absolutely. Ray Velez says messaging impact. Mija, you better learn how to cook so you can keep a man.
Can I hit that one? So I'm going to tell you this. If I have to learn how to cook to keep a man, I'm not doing my job right. Because a man that's standing next to me should want to be standing next to me because we make each other better. Because I'm already great. Like you coming into this relationship, I'm the bomb.com. Check it out. You know what? I'm the bomb.gov. So if you coming into this relationship, female or male, because I'm not gonna pick one side. We should be empowering each other. We should be like, you should be able to crumble down. And I got you, my king, or I got you, my queen. Like today, you be a mess. Because tomorrow we're going to pick this right back up and we're going to keep going. However, what I'm going to say to you guys next is the messaging that I told my daughter before the show. "Mommy, I want to eat. There's not enough of it, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Baby girl, we need to get you to learn how to make this rice, white rice, which we all should know how to make, male or female, because I need you to be able to sustain yourself." Not because she got to cook for a man. Because if tomorrow mommy's in Chicago with Miss Chrissy, you can make your own rice. Do you see what I'm saying? But that is a message. As Latinas, you got to learn how to clean. You got to know how to, cater to your man. And don't get me wrong. There's certain things that as a female, I enjoy doing when in a partnership. Like, yes, I like to cook. I love cooking. That's just, my girls know. You tell me, anybody who's watching that's cool with me knows, they'll be like, "Yo, can I come eat at your house?" I love that. So that doesn't have to do a relationship. But I will tell you this, if you expected me to cook for you, I probably wouldn't. Because now it's like, because I'm a female, I'm supposed to cook for you. Nah, we're not doing that.
I love it. Roberto, they're asking, what is your view on it? And we have 16 minutes. I want to make sure that we stay with our time. I know that you have something important that you need to do once we get off, Roberto. So we want to respect your time. So I want to hear your feedback on that question and what you think if a woman needs to know how to cook to keep her man. We're going to have our closing thoughts, and then we're going to close out tonight. So give us your thought on that.
So, well, I just want to go on the record. I did not grow up in a single parent household. I grew up in the male and my dad and mother. So I just want to put that out there. Great father, great mom. Yeah, mom. I mean, I just had really powerful women. My mom, my grandmother, my tias, my sisters. So they just overpowered all the time.
He says, Roberto, you're sweating. Our producer's making fun of you.
No, it's just, I mean, I don't have any hair. So that's just the glare. But as far as cooking, I laugh because I do all the cooking. And my father in the family, he did all the cooking. So it was nothing. It was never weird that, that we cook. So, and I teach my boys, I have 2 young men, 2 sons, that they better learn how to cook. Because like Amanda says, you need to learn how to do for yourself. You can't really do for anybody else until you do for yourself. And I tell my kids that, I tell my boys that, I tell my brothers that, I tell my young men I work with, you can't love someone else unless you love yourself. You cannot take care of someone else unless you're able to take care of yourself, and, I'll get people that says, oh, I got to put my kids first, and I got to put my husband first, or my wife first, and I got to put this first, that first. No, you need to put yourself first. Because once you put yourself first, then you're able and you have the ability to put other people in your life and put priority in them. So you have to take care of yourself. So I do all the cooking and cleaning, and I do everything myself. That was just normal for me because I don't like no one else to be doing stuff for me. But that's just the way I am, and that's just the way I raise my boys. Just you do for yourself. So that's why I laugh, because my dad always did the cooking, and I do the cooking in my house. So
I think that just, not to keep going, but just like that shows a lot, right? As a man who grew up in a household where the male role model didn't play those gender norms. It doesn't sound like your dad played any gender norms. Like he let your mom and everybody else shine, and he held his own. And look how you turned out, and look how you're raising your boys. So that's where I'm talking when I was speaking earlier, like the messaging sometimes is not direct. It's not like verbalized. It's just the way our family dynamics work. And you end up learning from all of that.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me well? Awesome. I'm
I
going
can.
to go
that
to
last
the back.
one was a little choppy.
I am going to do what we do at this point. Amanda, I'm going to give you the platform here, the stage, to give us your final views, because I want to respect Roberto's time. I think our topic tonight has been super duper amazing and dope, as you would say. But I want to make sure that we respect that time. Evelyn Ramos put up a comment, and so did Jessica. So we're going to come back to those. We're going to allow Amanda to have her closing thoughts, and then we're going to close the show with those 2 comments for those 2. So let's have your closing thoughts. We'll have Roberto's. We'll have those 2 comments, and then I will give you my closing thoughts to close out. So let's go to the back, Pito and I. Amanda, you have the floor.
Mi gente, like always, remember that you are kings and queens, and that the messages that are instilled in you, whether it's by media, whether it's by family, do not define you. Define yourself. Make your own messages. Create your own messages. Write them down. Read them every day. Reread them again. When you're feeling down, write another one. Make sure you continue to send messages to yourself, because you have all these unsolicited messages coming left and right for you. So create your own. I encourage you either to journal, write them as a message on your iPhone or your, Android, and make sure that it pops up like an alarm, just reminding you. There's affirmation apps. Send messages to yourself that are kind, and like always, love yourself, because with love, I think everything's going to be better.
Thank you so much, Miss Amanda. Always awesome. You're getting some love there from the people from Maryland and from Evelyn. Thank you guys for being here tonight. We're going to send you to the back as we normally do. We're going to give Pito the opportunity to be on the floor by himself. Pito, give us some input, some feelings, whatever it is that you can feel about what we spoke about tonight, or even just a positive message for those who are watching tonight. I'm going to go to the back. You're going to be by yourself, bro.
All right. Just number one, I appreciate giving the opportunity to participate in this great program that you put together. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Amanda. As far as my message, I would just say you have to be purposeful with what you want to do and who you want to be. And if you grew up around negative messaging, you really have to put some work in. You have to do some self work. We call it our job, men's work, to kind of put those positive messages, filter out the negative and filter in those positive messages that you want. So you have to be really purposeful. And sometimes it's taking classes, sometimes it's reading some books, sometimes it's going on a retreat. And sometimes it's talking to those 5 people that Amanda talked about. Who are those 5 people in your life? Write them down and have those conversations with those individuals and just be upfront and truthful. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity, a pleasure. And whenever you want to have me back, I'll be more than happy to join this great program. Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome. I'm going to bring all of my girls to Chicago, and then we're all going to just do the show together in Chicago. How about that?
I'll find a better background. I thought I was able to use like a different background here, but it doesn't work on this platform. But yeah, great.
You're fine. You're fine. So I have a few comments that came in, and we're going to address them, folks, as soon as we bring everyone back. So I'm going to send you to the back, and I'll give my closing thoughts, a few announcements, and then we'll close the show out. So good evening, people. Thank you all so much for joining us and for being a part of us. Like I said, Love Shouldn't Hurt has been on the road. We're not in Philly. We are traveling, but that's because we want to make sure that our messaging is reached in not only Philadelphia, but in different parts. So we're super excited that we're not in Philly today and that we're somewhere else and we're spreading that word out of Philadelphia. So that is exciting for us. I think that messaging is impactful for everyone. Like I stated, on a daily basis, everything we do and say is a message that can empower folks or break them down. I think the biggest thing that we can take away from what we're doing here at Love Shouldn't Hurt is that we are sending the message that abuse is not okay, that we will no longer tolerate it, and that even though I am one person, I have a huge team behind me who will continue to spread the message of positivity, of love, self-respect, self-worth, and that we will continue to spread that message everywhere until no one else has to deal with any form of domestic violence, because that is our message and our mission at Love Shouldn't Hurt. So thank you guys for watching. I'm super excited that you guys are here. I want to make this quick announcement because I have received countless phone calls, countless text messages, countless inboxes. We all know that we have our Love Gala that is happening on October 23rd. Our ticket sales are now live. That is our flyer. We hope that you all can join us this year. We do hope that COVID does not hit us again and we shut down. We're hoping that we will make it to our event, but it is October 23rd. It is a formal event at the Concilio Ballroom. My announcement is this. If you're having difficulties with purchasing the tickets when you go to Concilio's site, here's my first thing to say. Please be patient. We all have to be patient. The website is working for some folks very quickly. For others, it is slow. The process, we're not sure. This is what you must do. When you click the link that I have, and I will provide it under this show, and I will continue to provide it in our messages. When you click the link, you will see that it says add to cart, and they are all orange. When you click that hyperlink, you will notice after a few minutes, you got to wait a few minutes, paciencia, the letters will turn to purple and they will say ticket added to cart. They will still be the word cart in orange. You then have to touch cart, the orange hyperlink, and it will then take you to the cart. I know that a lot of people have called me. I've had countless people call and text, and I know last year we sold out. So I know you guys are super excited. Please bear with us. Please be patient. It does work. We have individuals who have already bought tickets. It is just slowing down. We're not sure why, but it does work. Go in again to the Concilio website. Go under events. Go to Love Should Not Hurt Gala. Click on whichever ticket you choose to purchase. It will then turn purple after a few minutes. You do have to wait 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not sure why, but it's taking some time to load. Once you see that the words say tickets added to cart in purple, click on the orange word that says cart, and then it will take you directly to the cart. We don't want anyone to have any issues. Remember, we are also publicizing for our 5K that will close out the month of domestic violence on October 31st. The following weekend, it will be Halloween. So for those kiddos and families who do celebrate Halloween, if you don't, that's okay too. But for those who do, your kids can come in Halloween costumes. Adults, make it fun. You can come dressed up. Make sure you're comfortable, though, to make sure that you can run. All of our sponsors and tables will have goodie bags and candy for the kids and everyone who are there. So it's been a good night. I love you guys. I appreciate our audience and everyone who always give to us and just is here every week. Let's bring them back and let's go over those last few comments that we received from some different people, Ray. Ray, if you look it up, we see that Jessica, Pure Romance Jessica says, that's why my boys are learning to handle business so they don't expect it from any woman. Those are the positive messages we're getting in Jessica's household. And Jessica has her husband and herself who are constantly fostering that into their boys. Evelyn Ramos, Macomai, woo woo, our girl says, are there any old school values, traditions we now identify as unhealthy messaging the group struggles with letting go of? Which one of you quickly wants to answer that question?
Real quick, I do it with my boys. It's okay to show emotion. I hug my kids. I kiss them. You know, I do all that. Get away from me, Dad. But you know, I think showing affection is just fine. So kind of the old school messages of men don't show affection. I think that's one of the ones, the unhealthy traditions that have been passed on.
Absolutely. Amanda, you have one?
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that is that it's okay to show affection, but it's not okay to hurt other people because you're upset. Because I think sometimes we don't know how to process our emotions, so we displace it and we give it to other people. And not to use your komai, but like today, her and her little toddler and I had a little situation where she was mad at the girls. She was mad at the girls and she talked to me sideways. And I said, you have the right to be upset, but you don't have the right to talk to me like that. I said,
Right.
so, but it's okay to be upset. It's really okay to be upset, but let's not talk to each other that way. Cause we weren't mad at each other. She was mad at other people. So like having them understand that displacing it and putting it on someone else is not okay, but it is okay to have emotions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And the last comment came from Teresa Fetzer. It's awesome to hear that our young men out here have a platform to voice their wins, fears, goals, and woes. Men can cry and it's okay. Tears heal. Keeping it in causes more anger. Thank you so much, Teresa, for being an avid follower. Roberto, my friend, thank you so much for being here, accepting my invitation, even though we called you and we're like, dude, you want to come on? We were excited that you accepted. She said, thank you, Amanda. I needed to hear that. We were very excited that you accepted. I was like, whoa, I'm calling him out of nowhere. But you quickly were like, yes, which is another show, another message. Absolutely. Right. Another show that said, another show. She said show. So I'll repeat what she said. Another positive message, which shows for the world that look at you. You're in Chicago. You're a male and you are admiring and following what we do at Love Shouldn't Hurt. And you're constantly giving me kudos, which is awesome, because a lot of times they say when you talk about domestic violence, those are the messages, right? Only women go through it, only men. And they say a lot of men don't support my movement. So you're one of those men who support, and we truly appreciate that. So thank you for that messaging on your part. It's been a good show. I had a good time with you guys. As for always, Amanda, gracias for your information and your support. Roberto, again, thank you. I'll see you guys all next week. Happy Tuesday and have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye. Abrazos.